Good morning. Denise Dryden here out on Bainbridge Island. I've found a little bit of the roof where I can stay out of the rain, and we can even hear it sprinkling in the background. So if you hear some nice, peaceful, calming rain, that's what's going on right behind me. Today I want to talk about the sticky energy of giving. Yeah. So giving at its very essence is when you share something about yourself or with someone else, and you do it from a really kind heart. And we're in the month of December, and December happens to be one of the busiest holiday months of the year, and it almost every faith, every culture has a celebratory component to it in December. It's sort of like we're in the winter, it's cold, we have nothing else to do, let's create something where we get a chance to exchange energy, exchange something with someone else. And it's straight across the board to celebrate a religion, to celebrate a practice, to celebrate a company, to celebrate anything, right? So this is when we gather together, when we celebrate, when we gift give, when we gift receive, not to mention like this exuberant amount of time and energy and resources that we put towards 30 days of the month. And I thought I would sort of put some of these pieces together. So we know that giving can be a beautiful altruistic expression. We know that. We know that that's what we do this for. That's why we participate in gift giving, right? But in our Western culture, it's really laden with familial and professional expectations. And it's all about, man, I want to feel good, and I want to look good, and I want to celebrate, and I want this to be the best ever. And that comes from external, not internal. So it gets kind of sticky. As a matter of fact, it gets really sticky. So this month will bring up all of the good, bad, and the uglies in us. It'll bring up our grief. It'll bring up our resentments. It'll bring up so much. And so to put this in context, I primarily, in the main focus of my practice right now, is I've been working with parents who have teenagers. So we have family structures where kids are still living at home, and kids are teens, and there might be older siblings or younger siblings at home. A lot of my clients are talking about some of their problems that they're having this year with not being able to keep up, exhaustion, what to do with some of the additional emotional stressors. And so I'm going off of what my clients have told me, what I found in some of the latest Psychology Today articles and on social media, and a list of what I've experienced in December. And I thought I would pass on to you some of my observations. Number one, there's a dozen of them. Number one, we give because we want the receiver to be happy. We want to feel loved. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want them to know that we care about them. We know that. That is why we give. And there's a little bit of physiological and energetic sort of like boost, little wing, when someone shines, when they open something, or when you give them something, or when you donate something really valuable of yours to them. Giving can be, number three, giving can be time. It can be babysitting. It can be driving the kids, helping out, working at a party, taking the kids for a weekend. You know, it can be time, how you donate time. It could be resources. Like, I'm going to host a party. I'm going to help with services. I'm going to pay your rent. I'm going to take care of your phone bill for a month. It can be financial, which is I'm going to give you money. I'm going to give you food, I'm going to give you clothing, I'm going to give you items that you want that you can't afford. It can be energetic, which is holding space and time and focus and hopes and fears. And I'm just going to give you my full attention. And it can be actual gifts, which are, you know, phones, music, cars, clothes, jewelry. It could be anything. Mugs. It could be what we want to give one person to say, hey, you matter to me. Number four, giving and receiving gifts is also a major component of love languages. There's 5 love languages, and giving and receiving gifts is how one type of person can feel love or give love. So we know that gift giving is something that's really attached to love. Number 5, we give to get. We give to get. We get something as a result of giving. We get love, we get security, we get self-worth, we get attention, we get admiration. We give to get. Everything has a little bit of a string. If I do this, then this happens. Number 6, I learned this in the Perceptive Souls webinar that Bevan Neiman is doing, that empaths have a tendency to get muddled around giving, and that they have a tendency to be really messy with boundaries about giving, and giving is something that empaths struggle with. They often give way too much. So if there's a high sensitivity in you, perceptiveness, an empathic skill, there's a good chance that you give too much. Number 7, givers are not actually the best receivers. Really. The best receivers, they don't know how to receive compliments, time, love. They don't know how to receive gifts. They don't know, it triggers something in them. They're uncomfortable with being seen, with allowing someone to give to them. They're so used to giving out that they don't know how to receive. Number 8, if you're a giver, it's pretty easy to be a giver in all realms. In other words, just because you give a lot during the December holiday season doesn't mean that you aren't giving time and energy towards school and children and spouse and everything all the time. If you're a giver, you're usually a giver year-round. Number 9, givers get exhausted. They get angry, they get resentful, they get disappointed, because often what they're given back isn't even remotely close to what they give. They give and they give, and then they wait, and things just don't come back to them the way that they want it to, the way that they think it should, the way that they ask it. And it's sort of a one-way road. And most family structures are really used to having a giver in the family, and they're not very kind to that giver. Number 10, giving hits Brene Brown's armors that's in her Dare to Lead book. It hits 1, which is that we give to maintain power and control, so that you set the pace, you keep things going out there. Guilty. I used to be the overgiver and do all of the holiday parties and set up all of everything so that I had control over it. As an empath, it was my way of being able to determine what I could let in and what I couldn't. It was really hard for me to go to someone else's house and be on the receptive end of all that was going on. It was much easier for me to host everything. The other part that it hits with Brene Brown's armors is self-worth, is that sort of hustling for productivity, like if I do this, then. If I do this, then. Number 11, givers often sacrifice their own quality of life for others. They will carry credit card debt. They will have low self-worth. A lot of times they will have health issues, a lot of autoimmune, because you're giving out all the time and your body can't sustain that. Number 12, which I think is the biggest one, is that we are not teaching or modeling reciprocity. It isn't like we're even. It's like I give and there's this one-way water fountain going out and not a lot coming back. So it gets a little stickier when we're talking about reciprocity, and then when we talk about what it's like to be a giver as a parent, okay? So when we overgive as a parent, we foster a lack of independence. We give them new iPhones, a computer, a car, an expensive jeans, something that they cannot afford on their own. And then it sort of becomes, hey, once a year, mom or dad or both of them are going to give me something that I need. And then at 18, 19, 25, 30, when does that stop, right? So it doesn't foster independence. There's also this irresponsibility and entitlement that shows up, which is, hey, Dad, I broke my phone. You need to get me a new one. And I often wonder what would happen if teenagers really had to work for the $1,000 that a new iPhone costs right now and have to pay for that with their own cash, instead of us as parents giving them really expensive high-end items or trying to help them on the things that they can't afford to do. We're not teaching them anything. Often gift giving can be fraught with manipulation, which is, I'm going to start like cozying up to this person or to that person. And I've been watching little snippets of The Big Bang Theory. Sort of my new pastime. It's really fun. And Raj, Raj is how he plays one parent for money and plays the other parent for money, and how he can manipulate the two. We see that a lot in our teenagers, especially the teenagers in program. It stagnates personal growth. We're not teaching life skills of independence. We're not teaching professional skills of being able to get, hold, and manage a job well and accelerate at it. And we're even, sort of stifling relationship tools, which is, man, you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you want to give them a nice present. Here, let me help you buy them a nice present. So there's no motivation, and we sort of stagnate. Kids are going 14 through 21 without participating in their own livelihood, and it makes it really difficult. So it can also foster dishonesty in the family, sort of where there's or competition. Where there's divorce, there's mom does this and dad does that. There's also that dishonesty piece, which is, I'm going to do this and I'm going to give it to you for Christmas, but you're not going to tell your dad that I bought you those boots, or I did this, or I did that. And there's compromises, which is, somehow we're willing to carry thousands of dollars of debt into the first 6 months of the year so that we can impress our kids that they were able to get some wonderful gifts during the holiday season. So ways out of the stickiness, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you something to work with. Get honest. First, get honest. Let this stuff sink in. Go back over this list and go, where am I in that? Which one pertains to me? Oh, shoot. What am I going to do about that? Explore and do some research of your own. All I did was Google overgivers, or if you give too much, and there was like 12 articles on there. It gives you so much material to work with, and then sort of like lay it out. Is this me? And be really honest and truthful about what actually happens with you around this topic of giving. Second, create a new scenario. Like my kids will always tell you that I taught a voluntary simplicity class in 1995, and after that we had a little meeting and we stopped doing presents, and we started to do reciprocity, which is, what can all of us afford? What would we like to give each other? Can we do things together rather than buy presents? Because you guys don't have any money, we're building a house, and these are the kind of things that we want to teach, which is, how do we shift our expectations and simplify down to what really matters? What experiences are the most important for you in December? Another thing is to find ways to bring authentic conversations and activities and experiences in place of physicality, rather than look at something that you could have to hold, a new video game, a new outfit. Is, what if we did some experiences like, let's learn how to snowshoe, let's learn how to do a hobby or a craft together, let's start doing some exercise together, let's start finding ways to connect outside of this gift giving season. And finally, the fourth and most important is give to yourself this month. I had a client that when I said, it's time for some self-love, it was, how many girlfriends can I go meet with? And that may be a piece, because if you've been missing friends and you really need that input, that might be one of it. But what can you do for yourself? Which means less mental pressure, less financial debt that will take months to address, to be more open for rest and relaxation and time to restore, more movement, like walking, dancing, yoga, bike riding, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, rain walking. I've got a plethora of lists of things you can do. Get outside in nature. Get away from the commercial settings and get outside in nature. a girlfriend of mine said that one of her favorite things to do is make a big mug of tea and in her portable cup, and she and her boyfriend drive around and look at lights, or they park and they walk up and down the streets at night, looking at all the Christmas lights that are set up, or just to look at the lights across the sound. It is just beautiful. And spend more time on how you receive. Receive. So the feminine energy of receptivity and responsiveness starts first and foremost with our ability to receive. So let's take the focus off of what we can do for others, and let's take the focus and bring it back into how do we receive, and how do we participate in receiving and giving on a more balanced level. So this is what I do. My name is Denise Dryden. You can find me on denisedrydencoaching.com. Drop me an email, send me a text, and if you want to do some coaching work together, let's play. Have a great Sunday. Have a great December, and get outside and see nature. Take care. Bye-bye.